So this podcast is about your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. And we'll talk about your new EP that's out and your lovely Christmas songs that you just released as well.
Okay, great.
Cool. So tell me, whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Billericay, which is in a county called Essex in
Okay.
England.
I know
Not
Essex.
not too far from London, but also in my personal experience, is not a lot happening here in terms of the arts or music, and so spent a lot of time feeling like the odd one out here, and kind of struggling through my childhood and teenage years, trying to, I guess, identify with people. It didn't come very easy to me here.
Mm-hmm. Being like, it's so like, how did you get into music? You said that there really wasn't a big art scene or
Not at
anything
all.
around where you were.
So I always loved performing. As soon as she could, my mum shipped me off to stage school to get out all of my creative energies, because I was driving her nuts at home because I'd never shut up. You know, I was always getting told to, Mabel, shut up, you know, because I was always singing or performing or putting on shows or something like that. I mean, every Christmas, birthday, any kind of family occasion, it'd be, you know, whip out the fancy dress costumes and put on a show for the adults, and it was all a lot of fun. But yeah, so I really found my feet, I think, at stage school. And then when I was 11, I got chosen to be in a TV show for one
Wow.
episode. Yeah, one episode. But I was acting as a character for one episode, but I was kind of the main character throughout. And I got a taste for performance, and I guess, you know, being in the limelight and just the arts and
Mm-hmm.
really the next level of it all,
Sure.
instead of just, you know, putting on shows for my family, I was suddenly in front of cameras and a crew, and I loved it.
It
So
must have been a big
there,
moment, like, especially coming from, you said, a small town. You probably didn't see a whole lot of people in your area that were on TV or had achieved that before.
no, not cool. So, you know, I really got a taste for it, and then I auditioned for quite a prestigious theatre school in London, and I was lucky enough to be the last person that got accepted to that school. And it was
Wow.
a musical theatre-based school, but actually it kind of had a counterproductive effect on me, because it kind of made me allergic to musical theatre. I kind of came out of it hating musical theatre. I've been force fed so much of it.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it just became, because was it more of like your job now instead of like something that you were having fun with?
Yeah, I think as I grew up and became older, a teenager, the whole jazz hands musical theatre thing wasn't exactly my bag.
Sure.
But there I did meet a friend of mine called Beth Jacob, and she played guitar, she wrote songs, and I thought, hey, I want to do that.
Uh-huh.
So I bought a guitar. I mean, I'd always played piano as a young kid, but I bought a guitar.
Sorry,
And
real quick, when did you get into piano? Like, so was that the first instrument you learned, piano?
that was my first instrument.
Okay.
And that
I want to
was,
ask you about that before we get into the guitar. That's
yeah,
fascinating.
sure,
So,
sure, sure,
yeah,
sure.
when did
About
you
eight,
start
eight
learning
or nine,
piano? 8 or 9?
8 or 9, yeah. And I loved more making up my own tunes rather than learning the grade pieces to pass
Oh,
the exams, which was kind of half the problem, and why I didn't really get too far in it is because I just wanted to make up my own tunes,
yeah,
which I guess is kind of a foresight into the future as to where I am now,
right.
inventing my own things. So yeah, I learned that. I think I
Was
got to
that,
grade.
did that come with the recitals and all that as well?
Arpeggios, the scales, the whole shebang. I mean, I
Oh.
really hate it.
Was that kind of your first, I would think that would kind of be your first experience, like performing music in front of people and
Yeah,
in that realm? Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. Apart from obviously karaoke, and at Christmas, me and my grandpa would get up and do Fairy Tale of New York, and and stuff like that. But apart from that, yeah, that's the first experience that I had of playing in
Uh,
front of people.
so you meet this friend and she's playing guitar and writing songs, or just she's playing guitar and that was
Both.
both? Okay. And then she kind of, was that, well, like what happened there? Were you like, okay, I need to get a guitar and start writing songs? Like, this is definitely something I'm interested in.
Well, I kind of tried to do it on the piano, and I'd kind of done a few things. And also, I should mention as well that my parents were just constantly playing music when I was growing up. And I mean, all kinds of music from, I mean, I had the Spice Girls, I had Steps, and then my dad was over in the corner playing the Smiths and Morrissey, and Rufus Wainwright, and then my mum's over here playing Kings of Leon and Bjork, and one of my biggest influences is Laura Marling, who my mum introduced me to at 14. And about a year after that is when I bought my first guitar. So Beth and also Laura helped me to kind of, I guess, find my way and buy my guitar. I've never really been very good at being told what to do. Hence the grades not working out for me on piano. But also I did some guitar lessons, and that didn't work out very well for me either, because I wanted to find my own way around it, and I wanted to find out how I would play the guitar rather than somebody else telling me how they do it. So I kind of taught myself pretty much how to play guitar. And
did you just go for the chords or whatever once you picked up the chords from the guitar lesson? It was like, all right, well, thanks, see ya.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I mean, I kind of had to get the strumming rhythm right and learn a few basic chords, and then after that I was kind of finding all the chords myself, and I was going up the neck of the guitar and trying to just make them up myself. And I remember going back one time to my guitar teacher, and I'd found my own way to play Fast Car by Tracy Chapman.
Okay.
And he kind of, he really was quite speechless. He didn't know what to say, because I'd only had 2 lessons by that point, and then I could already play my own version of Tracy Chapman Fast Car.
Amazing.
And he kind of didn't, he was a bit taken aback, and I thought, you know what, mate, I don't need you anymore.
Right. I got this on my own.
He was a great guitar teacher, and I really hope he doesn't hear me say that. But my point is that no one was going to tell me how to play guitar. It was going to be, I was going to find my own way around it. So that's what happened. And
wow.
And I still, to this day, I go to sessions, obviously songwriting sessions, and I'm playing chords. And when we have to put it into a program, say Logic, on the computer, and they go, what chord are you playing there? And I go, I can't tell you. I have absolutely no idea. I just made it up.
So because you didn't, you would just kind of create your own notes, or not notes, but like different ways to play certain chords.
Yeah. It's kind of a nightmare for people I work with. They don't like me very much. I have to be honest. When it comes to being technical, I'm not the best.
But still, to be able to be that creative, I mean, now nobody could steal your sound, right? There's
a positive. It's copyrighted in a way, because it's too cryptic, I guess.
There you go. Well, okay, from those lessons, obviously you learned the Tracy Chapman song. When do you start writing your own music, and how old were you at that point?
So I think I wrote my first song when I was 14.
Okay.
It was a song, I mean, I can still actually remember this song, because it was the first song that I ever played at an open mic night, which was when it was the first proper experience for me to get up and play my own song exposed as potentially being a singer, being introduced as a singer-songwriter, which to me was just really alien at the time. And it was called The Summer and Me, and it was the cringiest, most twee teen summer love song that you could ever imagine. But my mum still sings it around the house now, which, I mean, there must be something to it. Maybe I'll revisit at a later date.
Definitely catchy if she's still singing it.
Yeah, but that was that was the first time where I thought, you know what, I really like doing this. And I'd always been into poetry, and my dad as well is a massive, like, he loves all of his literature. He's read every single book under the sun as far as I'm concerned. Like, he knows it all. And he's especially into, I mean, my dad is, it's questionable. He brought me up on the Smiths and Morrissey and Sylvia Plath, and, you know, these questionable things, but actually that shaped me into the artist that I am today. Because I kind of have this satirical kind of edge to me, where I kind of see things from the glass half empty a lot of the time, but I'm able to spin that into something relatable to people. And I kind of, you know, I get messages from followers a lot of the time saying, do you know what, like, I really relate to that. And I think that that's because I'm not trying to sugarcoat things. And that's exactly the same angle that Morrissey came from, and Sylvia, and you know, a lot of the greats, also John Mayer as well, who I'm a massive fan of. They're completely honest and forthcoming with exactly how they feel, and they're not trying to sugarcoat or be anything they're not. And I guess that's what I learned from the people that my dad idolized when I was growing up, is that kind of satirical, tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic sort of angle, which I've really tried to hone in on. And I think that's actually it's a really from my point of view as a listener, when I listen to the Smiths, I just think it's so clever. And if I can achieve, you know, 1% of that intelligence in my songs, that would be amazing. So yeah, I guess that the point when I started putting my poetry that I'd been writing, because I'd always been into poetry, I guess when I started playing the guitar and I put the two together, that was the point where I realized that actually I really enjoyed the both of them together, rather than them as separate.
Sure.
And you know, the songwriting it's all opinion at the end of the day, because art is opinion. Somebody duct taped a banana to the wall and called it art. I think was it this year or last year?
It was a couple of years ago, and it was like some viral event, right?
And like someone spent like £1 million on it. And do you know what? That's fine, because that is what they consider good art, and that's fine. And it's all opinion. There's obviously popular opinion, and then there's more alternative opinion, and that's why you get pop and you get all. But I am fascinated with trying to mix the two, I suppose, and trying to find the alternative angles and make them popular in terms of the structure of songs. And I find it fascinating. You know, I listen to Katy Perry, and I listen to, you know, I grew up on Britney Spears, and I love all of the pop, the mainstream stuff, because I find it fascinating how they use it's a certain type of structure to the songs and a code almost to get into people's heads, to make them remember it, and to make it catchy. But the true lasting ones, the songs that linger and the songs that will never get old, are the ones that have deep meanings behind them.
And yeah, the more of the timeless ones that are more relatable to everybody, and they'll still be relatable to people.
Absolutely. And you have little ones singing them, and then you have, you know, middle-aged people singing them, and then you have oldies singing them, and everyone relates to them because the tune and the, you know, whatever it might be, a catchy chorus or a melody, whatever it is, brings everyone together and everyone relates to that part of it. But it will have a different meaning for everyone. And I think that I really like ambiguous lyrics sometimes, and double meanings, triple meanings. I mean, I could go on forever about how fascinating I find Laura Marling's writing, because there's so many meanings behind what she actually says. But going back to what I said about mixing the popular mainstream stuff with amazing concepts, Coldplay for me do that so well. a lot of their songs are so timeless because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what production they had on the records or how dated to the listener. The meanings behind the songs and melodies, they just punch through and they are timeless. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Coldplay are another massive influence for me. But yeah, I guess I ultimately I'm just trying to improve on both of those qualities all the time whenever I go into the studio. Just trying to improve on melodies and catchy melodies, and then add to the concepts, lyrics the whole time. And a lot of the time I come out and I'm like, oh, I've written the best song. And then the next day I'll listen to it and I'll be like, what planet was I on yesterday? Like, I don't even know what the hell that is. Like, I just never hear that ever again.
Oh,
and that happens a lot as well.
That's funny. But that's kind of what comes with it, right? I know I've heard a lot of people say, like, you have to write a song every day or keep writing. Even if you write the worst song, the next day you could write, it might be the platinum hit or whatever. So it's just keep exercising that muscle, even though you say you wake up the next day and you're like, what the hell was that? But at least you wrote.
Totally. I mean, a really good example of that is not so much in terms of personal motivation, but I get sent into sessions with a lot of amazing songwriters. And I remember actually one of the first sessions I was sent into with my my current team. Obviously every team has different contacts and they know different people. So I was sent into a session with a guy called Johnny Hocking and a guy called Matt Newman. And we had 2 days together in the diary, obviously back to back. And the first day we sat there, we got to know each other a bit, and there's always that kind of thing, is it going to work, is it not? You kind of really know within the first 2 hours whether or not you gel with these people anyway. Not obviously says it, but you kind of
yeah, right. Yeah, this isn't working out. Wouldn't it be so much nicer if people, like, it's so brutal and like to be blunt like that, but it's like you would save a lot of time, I think, with people.
Oh, you would, and it's quite exhausting sometimes having to meet new people all the time and having to, explain yourself all the time. But it's the name of the game. I describe it as blind dating, actually, and I've done a lot of that over the last 2 years. It's like songwriting blind dating, and not everyone is going to work, but sometimes you do really gel with people. And this particular session, so talking about obviously not hitting it off and then keeping momentum and just like, thinking that you will get there. So this first session with Matt and Johnny went in, we started writing this song by about 6-7 p.m. We're like, yeah guys, like, let's call it a day. Like, I don't think we're on to anything. And then I'm quite inexperienced at this point. And then I'm on the train back home and I'm thinking, oh God, they're going to think that I'm rubbish and they're going to think that I'm not very, I don't know how to write a song and that I don't deserve the opportunities in front of me. And I was feeling really embarrassed and kind of quite self-conscious and really unconfident about the next day. Anyway, turned up the next day and I had this little noodle in my head. Like I do for a lot of my songs, I go with a little something that's kind of picking my brain, stuck in my brain rather. And I started to sing this little riff, and then in 2 hours we'd written a song called America, which happens to be the biggest the most streamed song on my Spotify. So that just proves
massive.
Yeah, so that just proves that, just because the first day or the first time doesn't work out, it's not the end. And I think that was a massive lesson for me as well, because maybe I just wasn't on my A game the first day, or maybe the boys went, or maybe it was all of us, but actually it's worth just hanging in there and pushing through, and yeah, just keeping yourself, just pushing on basically, and remembering that, you can't, we are creatives and we can make something out of nothing, and to just give it your best shot at all times. And thank God I had 2 days booked in with those guys, because otherwise America wouldn't exist, because a lot of the
Right.
time it's only one day. So,
Uh-huh.
but it was meant to be, it was fate. And it was because I told myself, no, we're going to reset and we're going to go again.
Hmm.
And you have to have that mentality. So yeah, that's my little story about that, and things are working out first time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to go back a little bit to that first open mic night. I know we're winding quite a bit, but so you have that one song
14 years
written.
old.
Yeah, 14 years old. Sorry, you cut out for a second. Yeah, so you did that. How did you get, like, did you know about this coffee shop that was doing open mic nights? How did you get the courage to go in and say, I have a song, I want to play it? And
Right.
how terrifying was that moment?
Okay, so it actually came about because my grandma and grandpa live in a small village, much smaller than Billericay, called Alset.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, just side note, my grandma and grandpa are my absolute heroes, idols, and they are my absolute everything. And whenever I have down days, I just remember the grandma and grandpa. They want to see. My grandpa's biggest dream is to see me singing a song whilst the professional dancers are dancing in front of me, and I have to make that happen for grandpa. But anyway, sorry, that was the side note.
You can.
So, grandma and grandpa.
It'll happen. It will happen.
Grandma and grandpa
sure.
live in a small village. Grandma and grandpa live in a small village called Alset, and there's an Alset Hall there, and it's actually where my mum and dad got married.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, they're divorced now though. Kind of.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's been a hell of a year. Like, that happened, and I've had a massive breakup this year. And yeah, it's all happened this year, but we won't go into that right now, because the question is about the first open mic night. No, I mean, I can talk for England. Really, I can.
I can talk for England. I mean, I love that.
We've got half an hour, but you should have booked me in for a couple of hours, because seriously, I can go on. If you got over,
I've got over a half an hour, but I don't know about you.
So my first open mic night happened in the Alset Hall. And it was actually an event to promote, it was called What PA, this company that sell PA systems, which obviously is like speakers and microphones, right. And stuff for live entertainment.
Mixers, yeah. Exactly.
So they held this open mic night, I think it was once a month, and my grandpa was desperate to get me up singing this one song, the Sunny Days, Summer Breeze teen cringe song that I'd written at the time. When I was 14. So I think I got up and I sang. I had my guitar, my first guitar, which was like this plug-in guitar, and it was like a cheap thing. And I got up, and I remember I was shaking. My uncle was there as well for moral support. And I was a bag of nerves. And I remember singing this song that I'd written, and everyone was really clapping me after I finished. And I just couldn't really get over it, to be honest. And then they're going, another one, sing another one. And I'm looking at my mum and going, Mum, I don't know anymore. She goes, no, you do. You know Adele. You know the Adele. And I went, oh, yes, I'll do Adele. And I think, was it someone like you? No, was it maybe someone like you? Or
wow.
No, I think, no, it was Make You Feel My Love. That was what it was, which obviously was a Bob Dylan song originally, I know. But I did the Adele version on the guitar. And yeah, then they wanted another one, and then I did a Lenny Kravitz, Fly Away, in my own style that my mum was very proud, because she sings everything in her own style. And then I guess it just kind of went from there, really. And it never really got easier for me until quite recently, to be honest, to get up on stage and sing live. I've always been a very anxious person, a very, I always want to do my best at everything I do. And I have had times where I do forget the lyrics, or I do mess up a chord, and I don't claim to be the best guitarist in the world. I do what I can do, and I kind of wing the rest of it. And I guess, yeah, the fear of not doing my best at all times, it gives me a lot of anxiety about going on stage, so I can get myself in a right state at times before I'm on. And then I'm on, and then I'm in front of everyone, and then it's all happening, and then I forget about everything, and then I'm just in my absolute element, and then I'm loving it. And then I think to myself when I come off stage, why was I so nervous? But I'm getting better at that, and I think that the more I do it, the more the easier it gets, basically.
And with that, are you doing like, because now you can't really perform anywhere aside from like to your phone on Instagram or whatever. No. Have you done that at all?
It's not the same, because you finish a song and it's like you look around to the empty room around you, and it's like, no, and it's, what do? Do you just kind of like give it a few? I mean, luckily I've always been applauded, but can you imagine if they didn't applaud? Like, what else would they do? Or, I mean, even that would take a few seconds. What do you do? And it's just all a bit awkward. It's like, hey, barrel, tumbleweed. That's what I mean, tumbleweed, not hay barrel. Not the same. It is what it is, and I mean, I might get that tattooed on me. It is what it is, because I don't know how many times I've said that this year. I really don't.
It is what it is. Amazing. Well, okay, I want to talk about you releasing your own songs, and like, so you put out the first song you released, what, up online, was that free? And was that
correct?
Okay. Was that song, tell me about that song. Where did you write it at your house? Like, talk to me about the song and then putting it up online.
So that song I wrote with a guy called Dan Breyer, and we had a day off, actually. When I was 16, I was signed to a manager that didn't work out at the time.
Oh, wow.
And
hold on, before we get into free, then how did that happen? So did you have like songs written and you found a manager, or was it off of just, tell me about that real quick.
Yeah, I did. I kind of had one venture before this current venture, and actually, so the story goes that when I was 16, 17, I got found by this manager. When I was 19, it fizzled out and it didn't work out. It was a mutual agreement, but we both just kind of wanted different things and were on different paths, shall we say. So I hit my rock bottom, or the most bottom of the rock that I've hit so far in life, shall we say. And I had to, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I was really down, and I spent 3 weeks in bed. And then I decided that the only person that was in control of my destiny was myself. And I picked myself up and I went and got a job. I interviewed for receptionist jobs, cleaning jobs, waitressing jobs, what else? To work in pizza places, everything. And the first job that I got offered was in recruitment, and actually recruitment for construction, which is basically, the job entails speaking to builders all day, every day. And I was working for an agency that put builders in building companies, etc., etc. So I did that for 3 years. And that was from the age of 19 to 21. And then when I was almost 22, I found my now musical family, who have taken me under their wing. And I'm not going to pretend that it was an easy thing to go back to music, because I was quite scarred from the heartbreak from before. And it was, it took a lot for me to actually decide whether I wanted to take the risk again to go back into the industry. And because I'd only ever had one experience that wasn't great, I didn't have a great view of the industry. So
with that, what was there, like, you took 3 years off, were you always, was it always on the back of your mind? Were you always still writing songs? And then what was it that made you go, I'm ready to do this again?
So look, I played a part. I put on my tights and my heels and my pencil skirt and my shirt, and I worked in a 9-to-5, very, very corporate formal office from Monday, and I did it well, and I earned well, and I was finally, for once in my life, I had a stable job, and I had a steady income, and I, I kind of, you know, I guess I made friends in that world as well, that all of my friends had been, you know, kind of, they'd come and they'd gone, and I had actual people that, because we were in the office the whole day. I loved the experience, I really did, but on the bad days, the days where things went wrong, and the days where things didn't work out, I'd look out the window and I'd put on my day, there's more to this, there's more to life. And yeah, absolutely cliche, but you know, at busy London City, and I would daydream about being a singer.
And is that kind of what, so you daydreamed of being a singer, and then how did like the next step happen? You said you have a team around you, and how did that kind of, because you went from having having a manager and doing that to, you know, your 9-to-5 job that was you were doing really well at, not up until, but you were like, you know what, I want to do the music thing again. And like, how did that step happen? Like, what was the next step in between those two?
Yeah, so a friend of a friend, albeit that, you know, life sometimes it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's the one that I meant. So a friend of a friend of a friend passed on this EP. I had no idea who this person was, but somehow they got hold of this EP when it got to number 16 in the singer-songwriter charts on iTunes. You know, when you used to buy songs for like 69p or something.
Well, that's huge. So, when you were 16. Jeez.
Yeah, and it was all from my bedroom, from my laptop. I had no one, you know, no promotion, nothing. It was just word of mouth, and I got all of my town of the town of Billericay to support me and buy it. And maybe my mum might have bought it like 5 or 10 times or something. But yeah, so that happened, and then I get an email from the guy who now owns the label I'm signed to. And he said, you know, we'd really love to meet up with you. We've heard your songs and we think that they're really good. And obviously this for me, it was in such another world. I was a different person to who I was 3 years ago when I was in music and writing songs. And I'll be quite honest, when it didn't work out with my music, I sold a lot of my stuff. I sold a few guitars. And I really didn't think that I was ever going to go back into that again. So it was a weird email to read. And obviously I got really excited, but also I was at this point, I was really protective over what I'd built up for myself. Because after I came out of the music contract with the manager from previous, I had nothing. I had no money. I had no experience. I'd missed out on so many opportunities to go, you know, traveling with friends. And actually I'd lost a lot of friendships and relationships because of that as well. So it was tough to then think, oh, maybe this could be an opportunity that you know, a path to go down, because I was so settled and stable and set in what I was doing. But ultimately in my heart, I knew it wasn't really who I was. So I went to the meeting, met these guys. Obviously I did have my guard up because of what happened before.
Sure.
But very, very quickly, I came to learn that the team that I have now are from a completely different pond, from the pond of fish or kettle of fish to you know, the exposure that I'd had before of the industry. And my goodness, I feel like the luckiest girl in the world, to be quite honest, because the team that I have could not be more supportive, understanding. They really are all about the music, they're all about the songs, and they're all about what I'm about. And it's honestly, it's the perfect match in terms of artist to team. It's the most perfect match, and I could not be happier. And thank goodness I went for that meeting, because there were things going through my mind where I thought, I don't really want to go down that path again. And thank goodness that I trusted my gut and I went with it, because here I am now, and I'm talking to you, and I've got followers, and I'm in the studio, and I get to call out my job, and it's just crazy. And I'm
very, very grateful and feel very lucky. And, you know, especially in a year like we've had this year, I think that it's humbled us all, and we've all learned to really, really appreciate the things that we have. And this year's been crap. It's been so rubbish for all of us.
Oh,
For me, music wise, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not completely over the moon with what I've achieved, despite the circumstances, because yeah, it's been tough. You know, I had festivals cancelled, support slots cancelled. I wanted to go on tour myself, on a headline tour, and none of that happened. And it is what it is. Again, I'm going to say it. It is what it is. Because
it is what it is.
No, yeah, but it's true. Like, no, we weren't in control of it. But despite that, I feel like I really have worked hard. I've written music, a lot of music that's going to come out next year, and I'm so grateful because there's so many people that really believe in me, and I'm not just talking about my team, and they genuinely really believe in me when I call them wobbly days, and I think that all creative people struggle with these. It's the days where you don't really see the point in what you're doing, and I have those quite often, and especially this year, when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you can't quite see where it's all going, and you think that it might be a bit futile. But my team always pull me out of that hole, and also my lovely, lovely followers and listeners always are constantly surprising me and pulling me out of that hole, because all I need to do is go on Spotify and have a look at how many people have listened to my song that day, and then I'm like, oh my god, me, it's not me, is that me? Honestly, it's been, I can't sit here and say that, you know, it's been a shit year for me personally. For the world, yes, but for me as an artist, I'm really, really, truly grateful from the bottom of my heart for all of the support and for everything that's happened this year.
Yeah, well, you've had a chance to release quite a bit of music this year. I mean, is it 2 EPs? 2 EPs?
2 EPs. Okay, so the first EP, I mean, it's crazy to think that I've actually had the mental and not physical strength, because I haven't really been out that much, but the mental strength to actually put out 2 EPs. But it's happened. And so the first EP was about my teenage years. And I guess, as I touched on before, the town that I grew up in, as lovely as it is, there's not really a lot of scope and space for creatives, and I guess people aren't really exposed to creativity that much where I am. So when I was growing up, I found it really hard to relate to people my age, and when you don't relate to people, especially as a young person, when you don't quite understand how complex the world is and how complex and different people are, I guess I felt weird. I felt really weird, and then I was a deep thinker as well, which I get from my dad. Obviously, loves the Smiths, obviously, a deep thinker. Sure. And I thank him so much for that. But also, it's a blessing and a curse, because as a young person, being a deep thinker isn't necessarily the best thing when you feel alone, because things can spiral downwards. And if I'd have had, you know, Laura Marling was definitely a massive kind of savior in a way to me, because she talked about those deep dark thoughts. Also Morrissey did as well, but I didn't really have anyone to discuss those deep dark thoughts with, and I thought that I would be a burden on anyone that, you know, I would talk to. Obviously in the last 10 years, the whole movement on mental health has been absolutely amazing, and I am definitely pro talking and pro mental health not in terms that I think that it's a good thing. I think that it's a good thing to talk, and I think that it needs to be talked about more. And yeah, I guess I struggled a lot when I was younger and felt very alone. Hence why I come out with all of these really weird lyrics these days, is because I've actually been there into that deep dark place. But anyway, that's what Keeping the Noise Down is about, is really not understanding the world and not understanding your thoughts or your feelings. And Might As Well kind of really sums that up. And that's the track on the EP. That's the 4th track that I released. And that really kind of sums up for me how I felt a lot of the time throughout my teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
However, I go on to fall in love in my
Mm-hmm.
early 20s. And that's what Too Young to Love is about, because I then realized that actually I don't know myself enough to fall in love. I actually had a breakup this year. We were together for 6 years, and that was really tough for me.
Wow.
So yeah. It is what it is. No one's died though, you know. It happens. And I think, you know, I was 19 when I got into the relationship, and I grew so much as a person with the other person, and but different in different ways. We kind of went in opposite ways. So Too Young to Love is basically about exploring that and exploring how love can be so right and so wrong at the same time. And I still don't know what love is. I know 5-10% of what love is. I think I felt it. Well, I know I felt it, but I've not felt it in the right circumstances, because obviously it didn't last. So
sure.
I'm constantly learning, as we all are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just writing it all down into songs and for people to listen to. And all I can do is be completely honest and transparent about that, because I am not an expert. I don't sit here and talk to you like I know everything about everything. I don't. I just write from personal experience and just try to be as honest as possible.
Mm-hmm. With Too Young to Love, was that whole record written also like at the same time as the first one, or did you put out did you put out Keeping the Noise Down, and then you put out your next EP like in the same year? Obviously, I was wondering if all the songs are written collectively and you just decided to break it up into 2 EPs, or how did that work?
So I mean, I'm constantly writing about everything ever. I'm not specific about the time it is now to what I write about. It really depends on the mood I'm in and the place I'm in and what I'm thinking about on that day, and if I'm reflecting or if I'm looking forward or if I'm really in my feelings that day. But this the particular EP, Too Young to Love, kind of did happen all around the same time, apart from Danny, which was really truly inspired by Laura Marling and how she writes in character all of the time. And Laura Marling's a British folk artist, and her sound is, I guess, you know, it's quite different to my sound in terms of it's pure folk, and like it's like Bob Dylan as a woman. She is really, she's so folky and alternative. But Danny, I wrote that when I was really in amongst just being obsessed with her when I was 15. And I wrote that song. Yeah, and I wrote that song. So that song's been around for a while, and I was playing that a lot of open mic nights as a young, you know, in my heyday as a wee kipper, and I was so that song's been around for a while, and I wrote that in character as a lover of a soldier that goes off to war and doesn't return. So apart from that, obviously that explains, and I think kind of encompasses love loss, but doesn't come from personal experience. But apart from that, everything else was pretty much written about the relationship that I've just come out of. But yeah, everything was written within sort of a year, maybe 2 years, or everything else is written within that kind of time frame. Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, sure have. Jeez. Too Young to Love, the first song in that record is, I mean, the title track is so good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I love, like, I mean, the whole
album. It had a lot to write it, though. I can't lie to you. There was a lot of tears in the studio that day.
I mean, you could feel it. It's such a good, I mean, the chord progression, everything you use it was beautiful. yeah,
Thank
it
you.
really hits you right away. I mean, like right the first track on the EP, you come out swinging. it's
Thanks so
amazing.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you also released you were talking earlier about liking like the tongue-in-cheek lyrics, like the Morrissey Smiths lyrics, and then I
Can't
listened.
get enough of that.
Yeah, and then I listened to
The
your holiday
cleverness.
song is so good. You do the same thing. I love your like
Yes.
about tequila and like all. It's so good. Talk to me about this Christmas song. What was the?
I'm so glad that you touched on that as being satirical and sarcastic, because that's absolutely what I really, really wanted to do there, because there's so many Christmas songs telling you to be merry and bright and just happy basically. And actually for a lot of people, Christmas isn't that happy, because it marks another year, another year gone, and also you really remember the people that you miss a lot, and you watch people, I guess, every year get older, and it can be quite poignant for people in not such a good way. And that is what I kind of wanted to hint at, I suppose, without being too depressing and without victimizing myself and being too down on my luck. I wanted to just write a Christmas song for the people that don't find it so fun every year. And yeah, that's hopefully kind of what I've touched on there.
Oh yeah, you think you've done a brilliant job of it. It's such a great song, and I know the lyrics are so good. And especially this Christmas, what a time to put it out. I mean, now you guys were all in the, black, purple, whatever the worst tier is, and now you can't spend time with your family, and everyone's stuck inside, and it's like, well, I need this song.
Tier 4 is what Boris Johnson has named it. It's like the worst tier. Happy New Tier is what people are sending around at the moment.
Oh, that's funny. Happy New Tier. I mean, it's for what it is, I guess it's funny.
It's the worst tier to be in. And if I'd have known when I wrote this song I actually wrote this song at the beginning of the year, and I didn't have a tagline for it. And then obviously as the year progressed, Alone on Christmas Eve became all the more relevant, and I thought, I'm just going to run with that, and it'd be quite good to release a Christmas song. And I actually just wanted to do it for a bit of fun, to be honest, for my family and friends, and didn't really know how it was going to be received. A lot of people don't like truth or negativity, and I thought, I don't want to shit on everyone's Christmas necessarily, so I wasn't sure how it was going to go down, but who knew how relevant and how accurate it would be for this year.
Gosh,
being alone on Christmas Eve, because that's definitely what's going to happen to me this year. And it's almost like I was foreseeing the future in some weird way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then you decided on Let It Snow. Why was that just a Christmas favorite of yours? Why did you choose that song for the other?
Totally a Christmas favorite. And I worked with two guys, Guy and Lyell, and they came up with this amazing composition, and I couldn't turn it down. And I just thought, do you know what? Alone on Christmas Eve plus Let It Snow, with this amazing composition production, I had to roll with it. And Let It Snow is also, the lyrics are quite heartbreaking in a way, because it's about two lovers having to separate. They can't spend the night together, and when we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm, all the way home I'll be warm. It's just, I love that song, so it had to be that.
Amazing. And so, well, thank you so much, Mabes, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So what have you been like? What do you have going on? I know it's a weird time, obviously. Have you done like live stream performance things? How are you getting the word out?
So this year has really been about my writing. I've spent a lot of time in the studio. I've actually found my perfect match in terms of producer producer wise. Like I said,
Oh,
I've been
cool.
doing a lot of blind dating.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm quite relieved to
landed
have
on
found
someone
somebody
now?
that really gets my sound. Yeah, exactly. I've found somebody that really gets my sound. His name is Matt Newman. He goes under the name of Human, and we've written a lot together. Yeah. And we've written a lot together, and you're going to hear a lot of stuff in the new year. I've actually got a single called Sugar Rush that I wrote with a guy called Quarry, who's another artist signed to my label. But yeah, that's going to come out in the new year. I'm super excited for it, and no pandemic can stop me releasing music. It might stop me traveling, it might stop me gigging, and it might stop me playing festivals, etc. But it won't stop me releasing music, because I think that art and music is the light relief that everyone needs, and I'm just going to keep going with it. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but I just have to keep going. And that's what, on my wobbly days, like I mentioned earlier, when I kind of get filled with self-doubt and negativity, my team put me back on the right track and just keep me positive. And I am going to keep going and releasing music for everyone.
Amazing. I have one more question for you before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Okay. So that question would have been hard to answer in a normal circumstance, but right now even more difficult. But honestly, it sounds really cringy and cheesy, but don't give up, because everyone needs music, and everyone needs truth, and everyone needs honesty. So if you are ever having down days and doubting yourself, like most creatives do, just remember that you could really change somebody's day or change somebody's month or year, and really affect somebody in a positive way. Even if you're writing a negative song, somebody might relate to that, and it might give them some comfort. So just keep spilling your heart out and keep going. Keep, in this day and age, and especially right now, it really is all about social media. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of doing it, and I'll hold my hands up to that. I try my hardest, and I know that it's the world that we live in now. And sometimes it's not easy when you don't want to be on camera. You don't want to constantly have the pressure of logging on and seeing what everyone else is doing. Well, don't look at that. Just post your stuff and then go. But that's the key right now. I'm not saying forever, and I'm not saying that it's the be all and end all, but right now, for aspiring artists, the platform that we have is the internet, and to just really make the most of it, because we're quite lucky in some ways to have that platform where we can essentially be in anyone's pocket and essentially reach anyone's phone. So just work on the social media side of things, and just don't give up, because like I've felt many times this year, where is it all going? What's the point? What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Actually, I'm influenced. I log onto my my inbox and my comments, and I realize that people are really benefiting from my art. So that's right now at Christmas 2020, that's the advice that I can give. Maybe it will be different next year, but that's what I can say right now.